Well, this is an awards gala, so to introduce the award for Corporation of the Year, which will go to Ingersoll Rand. Please welcome Ingersoll Rand to the stage. This is my brother. You were in the video, right, sir? You look the same in person as you do on TV. I get that all the time. Congratulations.
Good evening. Tonight, I'm extremely honored to accept this award on behalf of Ingersoll Rand, a great organization who's given us this I guess you could say, the opportunity to help and serve the community. I'm extremely honored to be a part of the ULCC as well. I met John Hamm maybe 3 years ago, and he's really helped us make a difference in the community. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Ingersoll Rand, Corporation of the Year. All right. To receive an award in the namesake of the Whitney M. Young is quite an honor, so please give a big hand to Arthur Griffin to come receive his award.
Teddy said I had 2 minutes. All right. I'm a recovering politician, as some of you know that. First, I want to thank Mr. McDaniel for this award. I want to thank John Hamm for working with me. I want to thank the board of directors of the Urban League and the entire Urban League family for this award. Certainly, in the light of Whitney Young, Whitney Young was not about creating better poor people. Whitney Young was about trying to get poor people out of poverty by providing skills and knowledge and training so that they could join the middle class. And probably 30 years ago, we talked about the technological society. Well, we've gone beyond that now. We talked about a knowledge economy where kids need to know the skills and knowledge to be successful. Well, getting ready to transfer into an artificial intelligence economy. And our kids have to have the skills and knowledge to be successful. And that makes me think of a book my grandson had to read. He goes to Piedmont Middle School, and they gave him a book called Night John. And it's about slavery and how slaves had to risk their lives to learn to read. So don't allow this society to change your narrative about education. We've always embraced education to the highest levels because that was a ticket to move us to the next level. I want to say to you tonight, the little piece that I said in there, one of my frat brothers used to always say it, and he said, a just society is a society in which old men plant shade trees knowing that they'll never get a chance to sit under the shade. So I'd ask all of you in here tonight to plant shade trees for our youngsters who are coming through because they need the opportunity to sit under the shade tree. And finally, I would say to you with respect to 47, I don't know where Monica Drayton is. I said to her that I would say her name tonight because she works with There she is. Okay. 47% of African Americans voted in the last election. 47%. There are 200, almost 50,000 African Americans in Mecklenburg County registered to vote. We got to work towards getting 100%. So I want to make sure that whatever you do, whatever organizations you belong to, civic, fraternal, neighborhood association, family members, cousin, people you don't even like, make sure they go out to the polls and vote in this coming election. Thank you so much.
Arthur Griffin again, everybody. Our third and final award tonight is the Community Empowerment Award, which will be given to Little Rock AME Zion Church. Please welcome Reverend Walker to the stage to receive the Community Empowerment Award.
Y'all pray for me because when she said, "Come on down," something just came over me. I always wanted to hear that. To Mr. McDaniel and to Mr. Ham and to the very fine board of directors for the Urban League, to our mayor and other elected officials who are present, to the members of Little Rock AME Zion Church who are also present tonight. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make its boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. But truly, this is a wonderful night and such a high honor to be among those who have been recognized on tonight. Thank you so much for this opportunity to stand here and to accept this award. Thank you for considering Little Rock AME Zion Church. I am so honored and delighted to have the privilege to serve as pastor of that great congregation for the last 14 years. And the things that we are doing are the things that we have done. I have stepped into the shoes and on the shoulders of some very wonderful people who work hard and believe in what we're called to do. The book of Matthew, Jesus is preaching the Sermon on the Mount, and he said to his disciples and to others that you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. And as salt and light, we are called to make an impact. In fact, the theme for Little Rock AME Zion Church right now is a healthy church impacting a sick world. And it is our responsibility to do all we can to impact this world. We're concerned about all the disparities that exist in our city and in our country. And my concern is that if we continue to work in silos, we will continue to be complicit with the trajectory that we are on to turn America into a country where apartheid is experienced. And so we have to do our part to turn that around. And I hope that you would join arms with us, link arms with us, to do all we can to make a difference in this world. Solomon says in 2 Chronicles 7:14, God says to Solomon, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal the land. Let the healing begin. Before I take my seat, I hope and pray that all of you are in church on tomorrow. If you don't have a church home, I would love to be your pastor. God bless you. Have a wonderful night. Power to the people.
You better preach, Reverend Walker. We needed to open up our Bibles at that point. Can you give him another hand, please? Well, we are excited to have a little different item in the agenda this year, a keynote speaker for you. Yes, I get the pleasure of introducing him. I can't make up what I'm going to say, though, so I need to read it off a piece of paper. Thank you. Jeff Johnson. Jeff is a master communicator, strategist, and architect of social solutions who's as comfortable in front of the camera as he is behind the scenes, developing strategy and messages for his clients. This award-winning journalist and communications specialist is currently managing principal for the Baltimore-based strategy firm JIJ Communications, where he provides strategic insight and messaging consulting to clients in the private, public, and entertainment sectors. The firm works with several Fortune 100 and 500 clients to transform their diversity and inclusion work into double bottom line impact that benefits targeted communities, as well as the company's brand value and profits. Over the last 2 decades, Jeff has developed expertise in communications, political engagement, and strategic consulting to create a unique career committed to developing solutions and systemic change. Jeff states, and I quote, "The problems many of our communities face can be transformed by exploring market-driven solutions that merge the public, private, and philanthropic sectors into ecosystems of impact and power that benefit all of us versus a few." He's conducted interviews with President Barack Obama and several international heads of state for BET News and provides regular content on the nationally syndicated Ricky Smiley Morning Show. Jeff formerly served as National Director for the Youth and College Division of the NAACP and held an appointment by Russell Simmons as the Vice President of the Hip Hop Summit Action Network. In 2014, Jeff worked with Steve Harvey on his New York Times bestseller, Act Like a Success, Think Like a Success, and is the author of his own book, Everything I'm Not Made, Me Everything I Am. He's the creator, host, and executive producer of Man Cave, a late-night talk show targeting urban men airing on BET. Jeff also dedicates considerable time and resources to organizations committed to racial equality and social justice. You fit right into the theme tonight, brother. This is perfect. Jeff is the honored husband of Jacqueline and the fortunate father of Madison, Miles, Malcolm, Baldwin, and Garvey. So please give a warm Charlotte welcome to Jeff Johnson.
It's not that many kids. It is an honor and a privilege to be here this evening. Thank you so much to my dear friend Teddy McDaniels, to our board chair and the entire board of directors, to all of the staff that make this affiliate of the National Urban League work, to those of you that are partners and sponsors of not only tonight, but the work that the Urban League does on a daily basis, to those of you that are friends and members of the community that found it not robbery to be here on a Saturday night, to all of the awardees, not because you got an award, but because you do work when nobody's watching to impact those that other people don't care about, to those that came to support the awardees, to all in protocol and all I don't know to call, good evening. I will attempt to be brief because I am all that is standing between you and the dance floor. I regret that I am speaking before the text to donate. That changes some of the remarks that I was going to make because I know how some of y'all are. And I want to make sure that you all continue to give. Let me take a brief point of personal privilege because in this work, we come across people that become our family and part of our lives. And your sheriff, Brother McFadden, is, real talk, somebody I met in 1999 when I became the National Youth Council Coordinator for the NAACP. And he was providing security for us at the convention. When you are young in civil rights, there are a lot of old people that hate. And you begin to understand who are elders and who are those that aren't afraid of gangster young people. And Brother McFadden was a voice of reason, beyond just being somebody that provided security. He was somebody that fed into us, that encouraged us when other people beat us up. And I had no idea he was going to be here. And so I just like giving people roses when they're here. And so, brother, I'm just so thankful for who you've been to me in the last 20 years. Thank you so much. Secondly, I want to acknowledge my wife, who, if it were not for her, I would be crazy and unproductive. She allows me to show up in the world the way God intended, versus the way I would mess up. And so our babies are upstairs. So that's another reason why I promise you I won't talk long. But baby, I love you so much. And thank you so much for being here. I want to say this. I believe that you all have an unbelievable CEO. I am not here for the check because it is small. I am not here because I didn't have anything else to do. I am here because Teddy McDaniel, my frat brother, my friend, my colleague in this work called social justice, said, Jeff, I need you to come. And so I just said, all right. And I think that often in this work, we don't realize who's in our midst until normally they're gone. And I have watched him as he left the private sector to go and be the CEO of the Urban League for the city of Austin. And I watched him engage and turn around a affiliate there that just didn't have the kind of vision that he was able to bring. And I'm excited about him being in Charlotte because I'm excited about who he is as a leader of integrity. And if you haven't got to know him, I hope that you take the time to, because in this work, it's not often about do we like each other, it's can we trust each other. It's not often does somebody make you feel good, it's can you believe what they say. And it's not about do they do everything you want, it's do they serve the people that they've been put there to serve. And I can say without question that Teddy is that kind of leader, and I hope that you recognize it too. Thank you, brother. So in the short time that I have left, I want to deal with this theme of empowerment, bridging the gap between education and employment. And I often hate themes because normally they're bad, and often they just don't make sense as it relates to the current landscape we're in and the work that we need to do. But this theme requires us to take a hard look at how we actually define education and employment and the methodology we employ to use them towards the creation of power. Now, let me say that again, power. I know that scares some of you because many of you are scared to talk about black people and power. It makes you uncomfortable. Not just because of the historical implications of what black power meant within a context of a black power movement, but the fact that you are actually afraid to ask for what it is you deserve. It's going to be a long 20 minutes for some of y'all. Whitney Young said, black power simply means, look at me. I'm here. I have dignity. I have pride. I have roots. I insist. I demand that I participate in those decisions that affect my life and the lives of my children. It means I am somebody. Now, the challenge for us is our current state of leadership. And I mean that broadly. Because some of y'all, as soon as I say that, think I mean one person. I don't mean one person. I mean the current state of leadership is in many cases frustrating because we as a population have encouraged leadership that is charismatically inactive and aspirationally impractical. So we clap when people talk words that make us feel good about what they don't do, and celebrate vision disconnected from pragmatic strategy that creates transformation versus euphoric inactivity about what ain't happening. So as excited as I am about the work that the Urban League is doing, and I am excited about it, when I think about what I heard just from the 3 awardees, let alone what's happening with job readiness and life skills and economic and social mobility and financial stability and social justice, I'm excited about it. You all are doing incredible work, and I think that you should applaud yourselves tonight for the work that you have done and the work that you continue to do. That wasn't rhetorical. Please give yourselves a round of applause. But the pervasiveness of the issues that we are currently dealing with require us to do more. Let me say that again. The pervasive nature of the issues that we are dealing with require us to do more. Often the lens that we're fighting through, especially as civil rights organizations, is antiquated. Antiquated because in many cases, we are walking out missions that were established 100 years ago and never retooled in an evolved ecosystem that requires us not to turn our backs on the past, but to embrace effective tradition, not just tradition, with progressive methodology. For some of you that don't get what I'm saying, just because you've been doing it doesn't mean you should keep doing it. Just because it worked for your parents doesn't mean it will work for you. And please stop lifting up other people's vision who are no longer here because you don't have any, and using it as an emotional response to make people think that because you have reverence for the past, that means you should actually be leading anybody anywhere. If you can't provide me a pragmatic vision for where it is you want to take people and a relative strategy for how it is you want to create that change, you can't tell me you're anything except a position filler. And so as we begin to deal with bridging the gap between education and employment, and as we talk about how are we going to change the economic reality of Black people in America, I hope that we understand that we've got to fight different. Because the philanthropic community is looking differently at how they begin to employ their resources to create impact. I sit on one of the committees of the Cleveland Foundation, the largest community foundation in the world. 75% of their program division is now being trained in investment because they understand that programs don't create sustainable change. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do programs. Don't get me wrong. That means that we need to develop more robust philanthropic strategies that merge programmatic engagement with long-term investment strategy, because only with the investment strategy will we begin to employ solutions that last beyond one-year grants. The mayor can tell you that municipal government is having to reimagine its role in changing systemic issues that the country is facing. because cities do not have endless budgets. And not just in the wake of the greatest economic crisis we've faced since the Great Depression, but the fact that we have property values that are decreasing. We have lower revenue from income tax. We have challenges that, because of their pervasiveness, require more resources. But cities do have the ability to become ecosystem creators that create opportunities for the private sector, the philanthropic sector, for other folks to create systemic change that cities alone cannot create. Civil rights has to reimagine what their role is in this space if we're going to be effective. And if we're going to create meaningful impact, we got to stop being weak and short-sighted in the name of either how we've always done it or in the name of feeding the egos of narcissistic leaders that want to celebrate themselves versus progress. A guy by the name of Michael Gerson, and some of you know him as the longtime speechwriter of George Bush, created a term, a phrase about the soft bigotry of low expectations. The soft bigotry of low expectations. And the soft bigotry of low expectations is an incredible psychosis within the civil rights community. Let me say that again. The soft bigotry of low expectations is not just that of those outside of our community that look at us and, as a result of who they believe we are, lower what they think our capabilities are and thus treat us as if we should only perform at a certain level. Because many of us who work in education understand the teachers who walk into the classroom with soft bigotry of low expectations versus those who walk into the classroom with the idea that their students can complete and do anything no matter who they are or where they're from. We understand the difference between elected officials that come into office with soft bigotry of low expectations, which say if you live in certain zip codes, this is the only kind of development that you can handle. And normally it is not at the benefit of the people that live there, but for people who are getting ready to live there after we move you out. Brief commercial. Anything that you like that I've said was given to me by Teddy McDaniel to say. Anything that you don't like is my words and should not be held accountable to the Urban League. So please, as you begin to text your donations, keep that in mind. We join our previously scheduled program already in progress. It has affected us. Because I watch as civil rights leaders ask for nothing except photo ops and invitations, as opposed to being clear about what the expectations that we should give to anybody that wants anything from us. I call it the October syndrome. Y'all know what I'm saying. Somewhere around October, Democrats like to remember they need black people. And so almost in every presidential cycle, money goes everywhere except hardcore in the black community until October, when numbers need to go up and people need to be mobilized. And they remember, I know some preachers. And then they call all the preachers they know to get elected officials who don't even know the street where the church is, to roll through to do a drive-by with Negroes that actually lit them in the pulpit. Hello? What are we asking for? Let me be a little bit more pragmatic. We talk about pay equity and stability and survival. And each of those is an unbelievably important ask, an important goal. We must have and fight for livable wage, and we must fight for economic stability. And we should be ensuring that everybody that lives in the city of Charlotte or in the county of Charlotte-Mecklenburg has the ability to survive. But that's not the damn goal. It's not mine. That's fundamentally the challenge that I have with so many politicians that on both sides of the aisle that pander to African Americans about an agenda of survival versus an agenda of prosperity. You roll through and you want to talk about police brutality, voting, and jobs. I know black people that want to be rich. I know black people that want to take their mid-sized business to a large business. I know African-American entrepreneurs that want to create scale. They're not dealing with poverty in the same way. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about poverty. It means stop acting like we're all in poverty. Stop acting like we all want the same thing. Stop acting like we're a monolithic group of individuals that only want to survive when I stand on the shoulders of parents and grandparents and great-grandparents that were smart with their money, that I would have the ability to have the little bit that I have to want more for my children than you can even conceive. I want wealth. I want growth. I want power. Many of you all know the study, Where's the Land of Opportunity? The Geography of Intergenerational Mobility in the U.S. It is often referred to as the Chetty Report. Many of you know it because Charlotte has the wonderful distinction of the 50th of 50. Many of you know what that means from a North Carolina perspective, that you all are doing a great job when it comes to education. But the report goes incredibly deep into processing what are the causes and potential solutions for the economic and wealth gap. And it talks about family structure, racial economic segregation, school quality, social capital, income inequality. And it goes deep into the fact that many of us realize that the mean wealth for African Americans is $17,000 and the mean wealth for whites is $171,000. Let me say that again for those of you that don't know the numbers. The mean wealth for African Americans is $17,000. The mean wealth for whites in this country is $171,000. That's a little bit of a difference. As we prepare to make an impact in these areas, what are we prepared to expect? Our expectations are so low, and thus the expectations our partners have in the relationship they have with us is low. Let me say that again. There are many of you in this room that are unbelievably great and loyal partners of the Urban League, of the NAACP, of other organizations. And you fight internally within your organizations to continue to provide resources and support for the work and the programs that our organizations do. My issue is we don't ask you for enough. And I'm not talking about enough through the context of dollar value, because that would be incredibly unsophisticated and short-sighted. This isn't about how do you increase your check amount. This is about how do we increase the level of imagination in what the partnership is. I promise you I will not be long. I want us to broaden the partnerships, to think about sophisticated arrangements that think long-term versus short. I heard an unbelievable story today about HVAC relationships and about the fact that many of these brothers and sisters that are coming through the HVAC training immediately leave that training to create their own businesses. What I want to know is, are we beginning to gather them to talk about creating a company instead of individual contractors. Because if all of these brothers that are going through the program together understand the value of capacity and scale, if we have 10 of them that now create a company, what do they have the ability to do that they will never have the ability to do on their own? And as single contractors, we are putting them in a position to be able to manage business practice that often most of us as entrepreneurs know that have a skill, that we are great at the skill, but we're not always great at business. And if you do that, you are creating a slower trajectory to wealth for an entrepreneur, not because they're not brilliant and excellent at what they do, but because we're asking them to do something that they were never prepared to do, and then telling them because they were prepared at something that they should be good at everything. How do we think differently? Because I guarantee you, the folks that I saw come up on this stage would be willing to have a kind of conversation about how are we helping these brothers come together to create companies and help them get to scale. They wouldn't be making the investment that they are if they weren't willing to have that conversation. But are we asking them? I want us to have broader partnerships, more sophisticated long game, and disruptive vision. So that we should be thinking about what are the areas that people are telling us we can't be in. I had a conversation about 2 weeks ago with a brother in Baltimore. And as states are coming online with legalized marijuana, most of the conversation is around growers and dispensaries, which is great. And there's going to be billions upon billions of dollars in the grower and the dispensary areas of legalized weed. I had a conversation with 4 to 5 brothers that don't want anything to do with dispensaries or growing. What they want to deal with is the pharmacology implications of 5 years from now when you got an aisle at Whole Foods that has a bunch of weed products, and how many billions of dollars will be made in pharmacology around either FDA or non-FDA approved drugs and supplements that people will be buying at mass because it will be legal, number one, and in many cases they know it's better than toxic pharmacology stuff they're getting from their pharmacists. Now, why do I say that? I say that because nobody told these brothers this. They looked at the angles and said, how can we be disruptive in thinking about developing business ideas that we can take to scale and now engage VCs or private equity folks in the development of business that other people are telling them they shouldn't even be thinking about? There is talent in this city that is receiving various levels of education. And my brother said it so well when he said, this is a knowledge-based economy. Many of you are talent folks at corporations, and you know that in many cases, you don't care where their degree is from. You care, can they, with a level of proficiency and excellence, provide you with a service at low cost to help you make money? And if they can do that, then I want them here. And if I can do that, I will make exceptions for people to be here. But normally, I'm only making exceptions for people that look like me because the relationships that I have predicate the pipeline of the people that come in. I got 4 minutes. We have to deal with racial equity in a way that civil rights in many cases has been afraid to. The civil rights still talking about diversity and inclusion. It's great. I mean, we got a bunch of D&I folks in here, and I love y'all. But there are different kind of D&I folks. There are some diversity and inclusion people that believe that this is about training and programs. And so how do we do unconscious bias training? How do we do, how do we make white people comfortable with talking about stuff that ain't got nothing to do with white people in the workplace? And then how do we build a robust group of employee resource groups so they can help lead the difficult discussions? And I'm with all of that. No, I'm serious. I think that's great. But if we aren't creating D&I that is directly connected to the business value, then how do we get buy-in from senior executives all the way down, especially in middle management, which is always difficult, down to entry-level employees? You don't do it. Because if you're not impacting talent acquisition and retention, if you're not impacting procurement, if you're not impacting corporate investment, if you're not impacting where you show up and how it creates brand differentiation and separates you from your competition to be able to gain market share, then we keep asking people to do stuff based on moral imperative. And I'm so tired of Negroes asking people to do stuff because it's right. That does not mean that I don't understand that there is a moral imperative that God created us all equal, and as a result, we should expect equality in return. However, we deal with racist people. I had a brilliant conversation, y'all, with a bunch of CEOs. They had to go through a diversity training, and for some reason, they asked me to come in and do it. And it was in the South, I'm not going to say where, with a group of CEOs, all of whom had over 15,000 employees in their companies. And I started off saying, listen, relax. Because I know that 90% of y'all don't want to be here. I know 90% of you are sons of the Confederacy. And I know about the same percentage have never had anybody that looks like me at your house for dinner. And the beauty is, I don't care. I don't want to change any of that. What I want to know is why you allow that to impact your quarterly earnings. Because 45 to 60% of your consumer base is people of color. And if 45 to 60% of your consumer base is people of color, but they don't see themselves reflected in your governance, in your senior executives, in your leadership, then you are creating reasons for them not to have customer loyalty. Furthermore, the more diversity you have in your company, the better you are positioned to be able to engage market share and increase your ability to get the money. Also, what it gives you the ability to do is put yourself in a position in a place where millennials in particular are making decisions based on not only who the company is, but who they serve, getting the best talent because they know who you care about, not just who you make money from. So, after the meeting, a guy comes up to me and says, hey, buddy, listen, that stuff you said gonna keep me up tonight. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to hear a goddamn thing that you had to say. I thought it was a bunch of liberal, socialist nonsense, and that we were going to be subjected to getting beat up by some guy that came in here thinking he knew who the hell we are and what we do. But I don't know how to do any of that stuff you're talking about. So would you be willing to come back down here in a couple of weeks and talk to some of my guys? And in 2 months, we have gotten him to do 3 deals with 3 black-owned companies for over $2 million over the course of 2 years. Now, it's a small thing, but it's showing how racial equity, by 2050, you all, the U.S. can create an $8 trillion gain in GDP by closing the racial equity gap. And closing this equity gap and these numbers are important, would create additional $109 billion spent on food, $286 billion on housing, $30 billion on apparel, $147 billion on transportation, $44 billion on entertainment. Federal tax revenue would increase by $450 billion a year, and state and local taxes by $100 billion annually. Now, this is just from understanding that racial equity is a business driver. But who's going to do that if the very civil rights community that is poised, and the Urban League in particular, because the NAACP is not poised to do this work, that's not their mission. The Urban League already has amazing relationships with corporations who get it. And just because corporations get it doesn't mean they're going to go the extra mile, because they are responding to shareholder and stakeholder needs as well. and in many cases are trying to do as much business as usual at the lowest cost to be able to get the greatest return. But we should know better because we should know the data. We should be creative enough to create opportunities. We should be sitting down with our partners and coming up with ideas that just don't make sense. Because it's only the ideas that don't make sense that will transform the issues that we care about. Booker T. Washington said, if you break a man's spirit, you don't have to escort him to the back door. He'll go himself. And a whole lot of y'all walking in the back door of these corporations, into the back door of these politicians' offices, into the back doors of folks who in many cases benefit from our $1.2 trillion in spending power, and the fact that black women turn out to vote more than any other demographic, and the fact that we move culture and that we sell goods, and the fact that black folks, when they like it, the rest of the world loves it and buys it. If that is the case, why are we going in the back door? And so, beloved brothers and sisters, this is not about beating anybody up. It's about how do we think differently about the potential that we have to change the racial equity gap and earning gap. Not simply by dealing with the lowest common denominator. And it's not choosing one over the other. I want to see as many people in the city of Charlotte get entry-level jobs as possible. I want to see as many people retooled with skills for them to be able to go into places that they couldn't go into 2 months ago or 6 months ago as a result of certification or training. I want to see as many people that can get a college degree get one. But I also know I want to see some of these corporations change their governance. I want to see them change who's at the executive level. I want to see us have greater equity at stake in some of these companies. I want to see us play in the technology realm in a different way. I want us to begin to reduce our egos to say, hey, brother, with your trucking company, and you, sister, with your trucking company. I know we don't really like each other that much, but we can make a whole lot more money together than we can apart. And let's begin to use the Urban League as an incubator to create capacity for small and mid-sized businesses who on their own don't even know what merger, acquisition, and partnership looks like. And so listen, I don't in any way, shape, or form care if you like my speech. I'm out in the morning. I just want y'all to be more like Tyrone. Somebody was supposed to say, who's Tyrone? Tyrone's a little boy from East Baltimore who used to visit his grandmother in Natchez, Mississippi every summer. Anybody don't know Natchez, Mississippi? It's a small town outside of a small town. And he went down, and his grandmother took him to the store to get what she needed to cook and to clean for the week. And the store owner said to Tyrone as he walked into the store, Tyrone, it's good to see you. Why don't you come back here and grab a handful of candy? And Tyrone looked at the store owner and said, with East Baltimore swag, I don't know you. That's your job. You get it. And his grandmother, Miss Johnson, was horrified, pulling him by the elbow to the side and said, boy, what's the matter with you? And he looked at his grandmother as seriously as a 7-year-old has the capacity to look at an 82-year-old and said, Big Mama, his hand's bigger than my hands. So if he puts his hand in the candy dish, I get more candy. It's all about whose hands it's in. In my hands, a basketball is worth about $45. But in the hands of some team, it won't be Cleveland in the finals. Again, in my hands, a football is worth about $50, but in the hands of some team, it's going to be worth a Super Bowl championship. In my hands, a tennis racket is worth $100, but in the hands of the Williams sisters, it brought black women to tennis to win Grand Slam after Grand Slam after Grand Slam. In my hands, a golf club is an absolute joke. Teddy knows this well. But in the hands of Tiger Woods, I don't care if he's going to the White House. It's brought black men to golf in a way that we've never seen them before, because it's all about whose hands it's in. In my hands, a pen is what I use to write my notes for the week. But in the hands of Langston Hughes, it wrote prose that said, I too am America. I'm the darker brother. They send me to the kitchen when company comes. But one day when company comes, I'll sit at the table and they'll see how beautiful I am and they'll be ashamed. In my hands, a book is what I use to gain empowerment. But in the hands of Sheikh Anta Diop and so many others, it was used to create thought. That black folks had the ability to be more than anybody ever thought we could be. Brothers and sisters, we weren't supposed to survive. Do we understand the beautiful legacy of struggle that we are even sitting in this ballroom? What are you going to do with your hands? Are you going to sit on them and be comfortable with higher wages, stability, and survival? Or you recognize that our ancestors looked the impossible in the face and told a world that they could imagine something they'd never seen? Those that fought for freedom who had never been free. Those that sent their kids to college who never finished the 3rd grade. Those that prepared their children to be entrepreneurs who never had a checkbook. Those who prepared their families to be connected and together with financial stability and prosperity when all they knew was work to pay for what we had to spend yesterday. That is the legacy we come from. And so will you take those hands and partner with the partners that are already holding them? The companies who already get it, the elected officials who are already with you, and reimagine what partnerships can look like. To be so disruptive that folks look at you like you're crazy until you transform their very lives. Because leaving here or going to the dance floor is fantastic, but you owe something to people that couldn't afford a ticket for this dinner. You owe something to those that don't know what employment where you work even looks like. And they're relying on you to build a future that they cannot build without you. And so I just want to ask this as I take my seat. Is there anybody in this room that literally knows that you have not been imaginative enough in how you can partner with this Urban League, but are willing over the next 7 days to think about how you can partner differently with this CEO and with this board chair to be able to make the next 12 to 24 months of the Urban League revolutionarily different than the past 24 months? I need you to stand up as a commitment that Teddy will hear from you in the next 7 days, not because you know what the idea is, but because you're open to sitting down and reimagining what your partnership could be. It's not a rhetorical question. I'm asking you, are you courageous enough to stand where people can hold you accountable, that you will be in a place to call this CEO to reimagine what you can do together? Beloved brothers and sisters, our hands can shape whatever world we have the vision and the intention to build. Do it.
Well, well, well. Jeff Johnson does it again. So give him a hand, folks. He said it earlier. He's not just my frat brother. He's not just a fellow Ohio guy, Cleveland, Columbus. He's my boy. But he's also a scholar and an intellectual mind that few of us have just gotten to know. It's just incredible. What I want you all to understand, a week or so ago, a lot of us were in this who's who in Black Charlotte. And it was wonderful. Shout out to Rhonda Caldwell and all you do. In my commentary, I said, we are unapologetic about Black excellence. And Jeff Johnson is the epitome of Black excellence. So give him a round of applause. We're going to give you a small token of our appreciation, and a check will come, brother. I love you.
Wonderful, amazing. Please welcome the lovely Carlenia Ivory to the stage for our final appeal.
Good evening. Good evening. I was going to say thank you to Teddy and John, but after they put me behind Mr. Johnson, I don't know if I want to say thank you. Mr. Johnson, your words were very, very, very powerful. And I do want to say congratulations to the honorees, and the work that you're doing in our community is phenomenal. Now, you guys are looking at me and you're very quiet, so I have to do something that I always do because I need you to smile at me. So I need you to turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you look good. I didn't hear you. Tell them, you look good, but I look better. Thank you so much. And really, all I need to say is, and you know I don't know how to do this, so I can say it, text Gala to 704-769-2628. Somebody asked, I know what you're going to do, and so usually when I come to the stage, yes, I am asking. And they said they wanted a commitment of $25,000. I think after that speech, we should double it. Ingersoll Rand is sitting at my table, and I asked him, could I help him fill out his form? And he said no. So, but the question is, why do I keep asking? And the reason I keep asking is because I do believe. When Teddy and John asked me to come up and do the appeal, I said, I have to do it because somebody believed in me. And I know you guys have heard this story over and over from people about being poor. Well, I'm the oldest of 9. We were poor. But even so, one time I was getting ready to receive an award, and I told my brother, I said, I need you to come. I want to recognize and let them know I'm being the oldest of 9. I'm going to tell them how poor we were. And he said, please do not call my name. But I do feel that it is my responsibility, it is our responsibility to make sure that all of our children, our youth, our elderly, reach an achievable dream. And that doesn't mean that any of us should take it easy, or at my age, we should slow down, because we have work to do. I'm needed, but you are needed. So in keeping with tonight's theme, we need each other to bridge that gap between education to employment. You saw Damien, you heard Brianna's story, and because of the Urban League, they have both become more productive citizens, and hopefully, as Mr. Johnson said, they will join together with others to form their own business. The Urban League mantra is empowering people. Remember, we can help so many others. I had the opportunity to visit Teddy at the building the other day, And just the thought of that building being full. They offer the career bridge. They offer job readiness, customer service, apprenticeships, heating, ventilation, and air conditioner. I know that plumber, when he steps on my porch, before he even comes in the house, it's about $75 an hour. High school GED, trade academies, on and on and on. And I was thinking a little bit like Arthur Griffin. And by the way, we want Arthur to have an opportunity to thank Alicia, his wonderful wife, who he forgot to do. But Arthur, I did it for you. So anyway, now you can go home. But anyway, back to the Urban League and how great it is, and we want the building full. So tonight, you have an opportunity to eradicate inequality and help eliminate poverty. And as I sat at that table this evening, I thought, I want to ask you to do 3 things. I want you to believe in our brothers and sisters and know that they do have dreams. I don't want us to just give lip service. I want us to hire them. You heard that. Hire them. And then help them to form their own companies. We need to do that. We also, when I woke up this morning, as most mornings, the headlines is, and this morning it was 2 on the street I live on. It's not the street I live on, but in that area. So-and-so was murdered, or there was a robbery. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we woke up next week and the headline said, I think Mr. Johnson said something about in 7 days, but I said if we would do, everyone who left here tonight would go to Delahaye Courts, to Southview, to Renaissance, to Piedmont Courts, and you find someone and you talk to them about the Urban League and the opportunities and how they can learn, how they can explore. Invite them to visit the office. Take them, give them a bus pass, give them a ride. But then don't stop there. Check in with them and see how they're doing. If they actually signed up for the class, if they completed the certification. And then I ask you next year to invite them to sit at your table, to be with you. Wouldn't that be wonderful if the headline said 500 people left this banquet and went out and did that? I think so. And the third thing I want to ask you to do is to give. And let's try to exceed that $25,000. You can do it. Remember, Mother's Day is coming up. You can do it in honor or in memory of your mom. Now, please do not go tell your mother that Miss Ivory said to give you your gift to the Urban League. You still need to go visit her or give her a gift. But it would be nice. But remember that your gift tonight will propel the mission of the league, no matter what the amount is, no matter how many times. You can text as often as you like, even when you leave here all week long, all month long, all year long, next year, however, to Gala. I don't know if you can do that or not, but we can try it. But 704-769-2628. And this will be on the screen. And so also you can make pledge. You can even put cash in there. Write a check or whatever way, no matter however you do it, just do it from your heart. Give generously. And let's put our faith into action. Tonight is the night. Thank you so very much.
Did you have a wonderful time? Oh, come on now, you can do better than that. Did you have a good time? Arthur Griffin, are you gonna need a ride home? Or did wifey kick you out already? You'll be fine. You might need a ride home. Okay, we'll help you out there in that too as well. All right, let's bring up Brother Teddy back to the stage for the closing remarks. Give him a hand.
Well, it's been a wonderful night, but first of all, I want you all to give a big round of applause for Miss Christine Sparrow. Yeah. Thank you, Christine. You always represent yourself, WBTV, and the community so well. We are just excited about where we can go. And we got a message and a charge, not just to people in the community, but also to ourselves at the Urban League. We got a lot of work to do. I want to thank some people because you all know that this kind of event takes a lot of hard work and a lot of planning. And there are a few people like John Ham, give him a hand, and our programs manager, Deidre Shepherd-Calloway. Wave, Deidre, thank you. And all of the Urban League staff members. I know we talked about it a little earlier, but if you are here, stand up and be recognized, please. We have our instructors. We have a number of people with us. I want to thank you all again from the bottom of our hearts. The truth is, after a night like this, you think a lot about what question you should be asking. So we always ask after you finish a program, where are you going to college? And that's a good question to ask. Or what kind of job did you get? But maybe we're asking the wrong question. I think the question going forward is, what do you own? Think about that, because we are talking about the racial wealth gap, which we hope to eliminate. So ask yourselves, ask your friends, millennials who aren't home buying right now, do you own stocks and investments? If not, we need to be thinking about it. There are multiple ways to do this, but what do you own? And with all of your support, together we will make a difference. Now, we appreciate all of the words and all of the powerful messages, but now we want to have a little fun. So, DJ, I need you to hit the beat as soon as you can. Now, I'm not a fool, and I do want to thank my beautiful wife. I need to say thank you to Tabitha. Our two angels, Ella and Maya, are home and taken care of. And some of you all know that we met at an Urban League event in Phoenix. So we lived this. Thank you, sweetheart, for all of your support. And thank you to everyone for having a great night. So let's have some fun, all right? God bless.